My name is Trey Mangum, and this is Shadow and Act's Opening Act. Each week, we sit down with some of your favorite black creatives in Hollywood to discuss how they made it in the entertainment industry. This week, we're speaking to Brett Gray, most known for his role as Jamal on Netflix's hit dramedy On My Block. The show is about to enter its fourth and final season on Netflix. Brett talked to us about all of the steps in his journey that led to him being cast on My Block, and let me tell you, it is a great story.
I've been acting since I was 7 years old. So I always tell people, like, I was a child star. No, I'm kidding. But in my town in Philly, I used to, I've been doing shows and going to, I started out at, a performing arts training program. Okay, major moments here, Brett. We're not going to do but I would say my major moments were actually, the performing arts training that I got to lead me to every single thing that I got as, a gig for me to be able to do came from a sort of recommendation from a teacher or some sort of a classmate or something like that at the very beginning. So when I was 7, I started at this performing arts training program in Philadelphia called the New Freedom Theater. And it's where all the kids in the city go to basically be in the entertainment industry. You have majors at 7 years old, you have acting and dance and vocal arts and all those different things. And so I went there as an acting student. And then from there, I went to the Creative and Performing Arts High School in my city, also as an acting major. I minored in dance, and then I always was singing anyway. But I would say those were major moments for me, going to the Performing Arts High School. I was always in little plays and things like that in Philly, sort of regional theater and stuff like that, around my town. So I kind of started building this sort of artistic camaraderie in the city. And then each person that I met, I would work with something. I worked on something at the Academy of Music, and the director was the late Walter Dallas, who I met at Freedom Theater. And he actually recommended me for another play at the Plays and Players Theater in Philadelphia, which is a small, almost independent theater company. And so from the Performing Arts High School I went to New York City, and I did a show called The Me Nobody Knows that I met the sort of creative team through another performing arts training program called the Broadway Dreams Foundation. So after high school or during high school, during the summers, I would go to Broadway Dreams, which was a musical theater camp. And from there, I met sort of people that connected me with this show, The Me Nobody Knows. And The Me Nobody Knows was we were workshopping a Broadway revival of this show that used to happen in the 70s called The Me Nobody Knows. It's written by inner city kids in New York City. So it was really special, and they wanted to bring it back. And from the workshop, I met my agents. My first agents were over at Clear Talent Group in New York City. And it's so awesome how one thing can lead to another thing, lead to another thing, which can lead to the thing you need. And so I got my agents, and I did small things here and there. The Christmas Spectacular at Radio City, I played the older brother who didn't believe in Santa Claus and then goes to the North Pole. And it was so much fun, but just crazy little moments. And then maybe about 4 years into my New York City experience, I'd had the full starving artist experience, sleeping on the bus, sleeping on my friends' couches, in and out of McDonald's at nighttime. I would wait in McDonald's until from maybe 10 at night to 11 in the morning to get on the bus. Sometimes I was really cool with the bus people, and they knew I didn't have anywhere to stay, so they would let me ride the bus to Boston to sleep and then come back to New York just to waste time. I hope I didn't get anyone fired from the megabus for saying that, but yeah, it was really hard at first. And then my first major moment came when I actually met a director from a musical that I was in, and he was executive producing the show on NBC called Rise. And I was singer dancer number 55, and you could not tell me that I was not singer dancer number 1 on that show. But it's so crazy because and I lied to you not. This is the craziest thing. This is like manifestation and like all the things that go along with like believing in yourself and your dreams, right? I actually was singer dancer number 5, and at the beginning of the show, we all had like little name tags so we could learn each other's names. And they wanted us to come up with character names because their idea was all the singer dancer number whatever's would become students later in the high school.
Yeah.
My student name was Jamal. I lied to you not. I wrote Jamal.
Listen,
we all made it up. It's
that's
true.
Real manifestation.
If you ask anyone who was in the chorus with me, they will all tell you that we manifested this all.
Wow.
So after Rise, it was sort of like a rolling, I don't know, like a snowball effect, sort of. I did the pilot of Rise as singer dancer number 5. I was singer dancer number 55, Jamal. And right after that, I went and did the musical of the executive producer who got me the show. And then right from there, I got a self-tape. And it was like, hey, there's this comedy that they're making over at Netflix with 4 lead teenagers. And they're all going to be people of color. And I was like, whoa, okay, that's really unusual for 4 leads to be all people of color and also supposed to be teenagers. But so my agents at the time were like, it's a comedy though, Brett. So we don't know what you're going to do with this. Everything I had done before was like super deep. Besides,
but that's so interesting because you're known for being like the comedic. Like, I mean, it is a, you know, comedy / drama, but like you're known for being like the comic heartbeat of that show. So that's so interesting.
It's the craziest thing that's ever happened to me. Right. I mean, I've always been like, you know, amusing. I think we all think we're funny, so I didn't want to be like, oh yeah guys, I got this, I'm funny. But yeah, so I was like, okay, comedy, that's different. I did my self-tape in the Hamptons at this musical that I was doing with a friend, and we sent it out, and like 3 days later they were like, hey, could you come to LA tomorrow so that we can do this chemistry read? And I had never been to LA before this point. So in my mind, I was like, I'm going to get this part. I had read The Alchemist in like those 3 days just because I was like, this is the time for the manifestation to happen, right? I went to LA. The first person I saw at the chemistry read was Jessica Marie Garcia, who I don't know if you guys know this, but we've all been watching her. People my age have been watching her since we were children.
No, I remember her. I cannot think of the show off the top of my head, but
Live in Maddie.
Live in Maddie, yes.
Yes.
I mean, because that was one of the Disney shows that I had kind of aged out a little bit from Disney at that point, but I remember the show though. So
right.
So that was, I bet that was an experience too, like saying like, oh, I've seen you on TV and now I'm.
As soon as I got there, I was like, oh, okay, Hollywood, great, Brett. Get your mind wrapped around the fact that like now you are in these rooms, these types of rooms. Yeah. So we did the chemistry read. I totally didn't think I was gonna get it. I definitely did not think it was gonna happen. But I think like the day before the 4th of July, they called me and were like, hey, they want to pick you for Jamal on the show. So it's kind of from there. And then from there, I did like everything happened. Before I even started On My Block, I did like a guest star on Law and Order and a guest star on Chicago PD. Yeah, and like When They See Us, also over at Netflix, all before On My Block even came out. I dropped a song even before like On My Block. So it was like once On My Block happened, it opened these little floodgates for me. And you know, it proved to me that like so much of this, I'm about to get super existential right now. So much of this, I think, I don't know, I could be really naive to all the like older actors looking at me like you got lucky. I think it's so much of a mental thing. I think that knowing that I had received sort of this blessing of like my first series regular had opened something in the manifestation, you know, like the universal words that I could sort of like start attracting all of these things. I don't know. Moral of the story is believe in yourself, even if you have to like sleep on the bus and in McDonald's and like not know what's going to happen in your life. I worked at like a bar So it was like, again, crazy rant. But yes, those are my major moments.
I when I think about this snowball effect and like this domino effect, I think it can be applied and like looked at the example of, because I always think about this too. Even like you think about this in careers, like you want to be at this point, like point A, or you want to be at point B, but you have to go through all the necessary points, before that in order to get to that point. Even things that you may not see that kind of like shape your journey. So like
Right.
they're like little bit things and little things that lead to other things that basically will contribute to you getting to that point that you want to get to, but you don't even see it in that moment. That like everything
Right.
kind of just like shapes your whole experience. So that's wild that you literally manifested Jamal.
Literally manifested Jamal. But it's crazy because like now I have moments where I go back and I'm like, I've been manifesting this since I was 7 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's even bigger than, okay, we want like something. We have a goal. Like we always want like, oh, that one part that's gonna break us, or that one role that's gonna happen, or something like
Yeah,
that. But
yeah.
it's even bigger than that. You manifest the small moments. And the small
Mm,
moments, they multiply, they extrapolate,
yeah.
if that's the right, I don't even know if that's the right
We
context
will
to
go
use
with it.
that
We'll go
word.
with it. We'll go
We
with
gonna
it.
go with it though. They expand these smaller moments, these little people that you get to meet and like connect with, and the people that they connect you to. Like it all is such a delicate, like, little storyline that you
Yeah.
create for yourself. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely crazy. And now, like you think about how you manifested that part, and then now you're here 4 seasons in to On My
Hmm.
Block, which I think that I think collectively, as a culture, we need to take a look in about how this show kind of impacted, in a sense, the way that we see ourselves on screen. Because honestly, there are a lot of diverse, teen slash YA programs, or the comedy drama, whatever now. But really, On My Block is
Now.
one of now. Exactly.
Now.
Now.
No tea. No tea.
Not at all. Not at all. But
No
like,
tea.
literally, you think about On My Block being kind of that, not peak, but the opposite peak, like right when it was first heading up that curve. And now, even especially on Netflix and other streaming services, you have like this explosion of content. So like, I guess, how does it feel to have been ahead of that curve and shaping, and really shaping it? Because I think that On My Block needs its credit for really presenting these diverse young adult stories, because that's historically, that's kind of been a genre and format that we've been left out of. Most, all the teen dramas that have ever been on the CW prior to 2017,
Yep.
it's just, they've just never looked like this. So how does that feel to kind of have been one of the shows to, or the show to lead the charge in kind of how we look at diversity when it comes to young adult programming?
First off, coming into the end of On My Block, just hearing you say that, I would love for On My Block to be remembered as one of the shows that sort of trailblazed this development of like diversity in YA culture.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. That makes me really happy. Um, but I would say like it's always hard being at the beginning of the curve.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like even for us as a cast, like we really were sort of like the little engine that could over at Netflix and even to the
Honestly.
world. Like I feel
Hmm.
like it was the show that kind of like snuck up on everybody.
It did. It did. No, I
It
remember
really
even.
did.
I remember when the very first image of the show like broke on Deadline. I was even like back in, I guess, whatever year that was, 2017, 2018. I remember looking at it and I was like, what is this? I have never heard of this before. And then like once they sent out the screeners, I'm like, wow, like people are going to be, but at the time, like no one, because you all were relatively unknown at the time,
Yeah,
no one knew about the show.
relatively.
And people didn't, I was like, people don't know what's coming. Like this show has potential, and like no one's really, the radar is on it now, but like it's going to like blow up. And that's kind of what it did, because a lot of that is probably owed to the dedicated fans that the show and the following happen anyway, you know?
Yes. I mean, the fans have like really, really carried us through. And I mean, I feel like it's just been this awesome feedback loop between the show and the fans, just coming at it from an actor standpoint, because I never saw a character like Jamal on television when I was younger. I was sort of trying to like model it after my idols and like Will Smith and Eddie Murphy and Chris Tucker and SpongeBob and like all of these like eccentric sort of characters I was trying to like weave into my performance. But I didn't see anything like this for me when I was a kid. It's crazy because the person that I used to watch for who I could most relate to were people like Jessica, which is like the one person on the big, like, huge, you know, Disney, like, teen white show. The one person that was kind of the closest to what I could see in my world, or like who I could be, which I mean is Jessica Garcia, which is crazy. But it's awesome that our fans now have 4, 5, 6, like 7. I mean, Abuelita even, like, going to age in diversity is another important thing that I feel like is not talked about. How many, like, women of color in their 60s right now are going, wow, like, this Abuelita character is something that I feel like I could do, you know? So I feel like all up and down the spectrum, like, I'm really happy On My Block got to do that.
This week's Black Entertainment Trivia Fact. Which Netflix series did Brett Gray appear in outside of On My Block? When They See Us, Hintified, or Jenny and Georgia? Find out the answer next week on shadowandact.com. I also want to touch a little bit more on the fan reaction because, like, you know, I couldn't imagine, like, you know, just going onto a show, not really knowing what to expect, and then, like, you know, like down this road you have like hundreds and hundreds of like fan accounts and stan accounts like dedicated to you. Like I remember last year when we did like the live show episode, I think you were about to release your EP at the time, and like there were so many fans that were like DMing me asking, oh, can you ask him this? Oh, I have this, tell him he needs to answer this DM from me. I have this I need to give to him. And then like when we went live, because you know, there was a point where, you know, where the video pops up before it actually goes live, and then like all your fans are in there like, oh, not we the first ones in here, and like all this stuff. They were just in there, they were in there like wilding, but just but in general, like I bet it really feels like crazy to like know that in this short amount of time that the show has been on, like not only the show has amassed all these fans, you all as a group of actors have amassed all these fans, and you yourself have like amassed all these fans that are going to be able to like travel with you even after On My Block is over.
Because they don't like anything I do except On My Block. I hope they will travel with me.
They will. No. They will for sure. But
no, it is awesome. Again, it's all comes back to like manifestation and like how good, you know, whatever. I don't want to bring God into this, but like how good anyone's faith system is. But like, I really feel like super lucky. And even with the fans, like I try to consider them more like cousins. You know, when you don't see your cousins for a long time and they live over there, but you know they're your cousins. I try to like consider them my cousins. But like I know people by name at this point and have like spoken to some fans for years at this point. So it's like it's really awesome that, you know, I feel like it's hard when you come in as an actor to sort of build an audience. I feel like my time in music has been a little bit easier in terms of audience building. Yeah. But as an actor, people really don't know you. You know, they know your character and sort of the value that your character brings to whatever giant conglomerate show that they've watched. So it's really awesome to really get to like have people who support you in the things that you do. And I really don't take that for granted at all. Like it really means a lot to me. I really try and like keep up with everyone, and I follow people and like say happy birthday and like try to cultivate this relationship, because it's super like important to me that there are people who enjoy the work that I'm doing, you know?
Yeah. You had one fan or cousin rather who like she had DM'd me and I think I hadn't read it.
I could probably guess her name like just by saying that she DM'd you.
And then I hadn't read it until like after we had already done the interview, and she was like this is my name, and like he knows me, like tell him my name, and like this was like in progress, like as we were live on Facebook doing the interview, and then I'm like, sorry, but you can like you can check out the replay of the video here, but they definitely will they'll definitely ride for you. So I think that's something that as you go into this next phase of your career, like at the end of the day, no matter what becomes of On My Block's legacy, you still have like dedicated fans who will be like probably follow you for like hopefully the rest of your career.
Hopefully the rest of my career. I'll keep trying to do amazing projects so that they're like not bored.
Yeah. And outside of On My Block, I really think that even though you were in there for like a short amount of time, but your performance in When They See Us was kind of very pivotal in the early part of, the limited series. And you said that you actually did that before On My Block.
So I did On My Block before. We filmed it before. But When They See Us came out first. I don't know what happened. It was a weird mix of events.
They were close together though. They were close.
They were very close together.
Because I remember when I was watching it and you were on screen, I was that Leonardo DiCaprio meme where he's like pointing to the TV like oh my God. That's what everybody was like. Everybody was like that. So keeping in mind that was like a stark cry from On My Block in terms of tone, and you said before you were kind of doing more dramatic fare prior to On My Block. As we look post On My Block, what kind of roles will you be looking for? Do you want to do more comedy? Do you want to kind of do like the dramedy that On My Block has? Do you want to go into like full on drama fare? What does this next stage look like for you?
I want to do everything. I really like, for me, it's about the full story. Even if like my part is small, it's about the full story to me. And if I feel like I can connect, or like if I was moved by the real story, I hate reading scripts. It's like the hardest thing for me to do. So when I get one and it's like, I cannot stop wondering what's happening, and like, I'm like flipping, I know that like, okay, I need to be a part of this thing, or I would like to be a part of this thing. So it's not really what I'm looking for, because I'm still like open to everything. I'm just happy to be here. But I do try and focus on the ones that like I really like, or I feel challenged by, or the entire story is something that I feel like needs to be told. But I am looking for like a little bit more like adult roles, not meaning that I'll have to be older, but I am, I can fly off the handle with this mouth. So I just don't want to like have to be a role model too long in case that goes south. That's so like, real. That's I told my manager, if you can find me like a black person super bad, or like a black person kick ass, sign me up. Still comedy, but like, let me cuss.
I will say that I feel like that's kind of a thing that, unfortunately, like, I feel like the people who have the biggest audiences are people who've been like, acting when they were teenagers and young adults, because they have the audience that follows them. But it's kind of hard because when you want to break out of that shell, it's kind of sometimes the fans, not really the fans, more so the general public that may not be a fan, they're just kind of like, oh,
like resistant to it.
What are you doing? Like, because I think about Zendaya in when she did Euphoria, even though she was still playing a teenager, everyone's like, oh, this is racy. And then when Malcolm and Marie came out, people were like, oh, this is racy. Like, well, I mean, she was like, I mean, I'm playing my age for the first time ever.
Right.
And I feel like that sometimes I feel like younger actors sometimes get the short end of the stick when it comes to that, because it's like if you can't play a young adult forever, but at the same time, it's like you have to be, I feel like sometimes you have to be strategic in your timing and like the role that you want and how it lands. Because like I said, it's not going to be your fans. Your fans are going to be there regardless. It's the people who aren't your fans but kind of know of your work. There's like, oh, he's a kid. Why is he doing that? So I think
I think it's about the role too. Like my acting teacher used to tell me, like, do not be afraid to have your roles fit like a glove. Like especially at the beginning, the closer the sort of role is to who you are as a person at the beginning of your career is better, because again, it's like you said, that general public, you want them to be able to believe you, and so
yeah,
you can
yeah.
win them over. I feel like Zendaya specifically is just such an incredible person to look at for any young actor in terms of like how to handle yourself in your career, because she waited for those roles that
Yeah.
really sparked something in
Yeah.
her, and the roles that she chose for her audience were like glove fit. I mean, anyone who's been watching Zendaya act for lots of time, like we were like Euphoria, done. We already knew, like, you're out of here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I feel like for the general public, it's always going to be like that kind of thing. But when you watch it, like, you can believe her. And then on top of it, her skill set is so that she's going to make you more than believe her and give me the Emmy.
Honestly,
Give me
like,
the Emmy.
that's
Sorry,
that's why she
Zendaya, to
won
be
the
like
Emmy.
talking about you in my interview, but like, you inspire me, girl. Let's get it.
And also, the last time we spoke, it was you were leading into the release of your EP, because of course you are a musician as well. As you look toward this next stage of your career as well, how do you hope to balance both? Do you want to do like, music and acting equally? Do you want to like even take on acting roles that kind of you can sing and stuff like that? How do you want to better integrate that in your career or kind of keep them separate?
That's such a cool question, because usually people ask me like, which one do you like better? It's like your right arm or your left arm. Which one would you
like
give up? So
pick
I love that the question is how to balance both. To be honest, I've been so fortunate and lucky to be on my block, and that the show has become so large, and like I feel sort of like my acting career is, I don't want to kick myself in the foot by saying this, but speaking of manifestation, I feel like my acting career is kind of like taken care of. Like I'm at the beginning, and I'm sort of like,
that's fair to say.
yeah, I kind of feel like my acting career is kind of taken care of. I have an incredible team in place that is like looking for stuff for me, and we are so communicative. And so in that regard, I kind of have like left that to the Lord.
Yeah.
But music is still where I get to like say what I want to say as Brett. So there's not really a goal for me right now of like, I want my music to be here and my acting to be here, or there's not really like a balance of both. I've been really like, again, talking about trailblazing, I think that I've been coming in after so many people have like busted the doors open of like actor, musician, that I've been getting so much like love and support from not only my cousins, but like the music industry is sort of like taking me under the wing, and the acting industry is kind of taking me under the wing. So in balancing both, it's more like, in my mind, like I'm more of a mental thing. Like, okay, Brett, you have this project coming up, and you also are about to release this in music, or you're also been working on this in music. How can I connect what I'm feeling, or maybe even getting into the headspace of the new characters and tell these stories in the music? And maybe they connect sometimes, and maybe they don't. I also, it opens up this world of like, I can play musicians on TV now or film. So it's sort of like all of the things, but it's mostly a mental thing of like, okay, what right now is most important? If there's a project or album or EP or even single that I feel like is really important to me, or that I'm really passionate about, that gets to tell a piece of my story, prioritizing that over maybe something that I'm not as interested in the acting industry, and sort of like playing this game of both, you know?
Yeah.
That's what I try to focus on. But I also feel very lucky where it's kind of like, okay, I'm an actor and I also make music, and most of my finances are taken care of. So I don't really have to like think about the industry in the same way as I had to when I was doing music before I was on the show. So I'm enjoying that freedom for right now.
Yeah, yeah. And kind of like a two-part question. So over the course of the time that On My Block has been on Netflix, and you've like catapulted to, such a great fame, and you're one of the biggest young actors out right now. What are some things Now you know that's real. You know that's
but
real.
do I?
But like what are some things that you think you've learned about yourself personally over this period of time? And what are some things that you think that you've learned about your craft as an artist during this period of time?
I learned about myself, definitely. I'm not as extroverted as I look. And I think I am. I've definitely, like, as the show has gone on, and maybe this is a thing that comes with like coming of age as well, but I've definitely gotten more internal. I've definitely gotten more strategic and more focused on what it is that I want in the longer run. So yeah, definitely that. And then what was the second part of the question?
What's something that you've learned about your craft?
I learned about my craft. Exactly. There we go. I learned, well, I'm continuing to learn and keep in practice that it's about the process and the journey. And, you know, I was very focused when I was younger about, I want this and I want this to happen and I want this to happen and I want these type of numbers on my songs and I want this type of performances and these types of, when I was younger, I was like, I want to win an Oscar and all these different things. And like, as I'm getting older, I'm really realizing like my most incredible moments that I have are on set. And the most incredible moments I have are in the studio. And the other day I got to like sing the national anthem. I've never been to a football game in my life. And
your first one, you sung the national anthem.
The first one. Yeah. And so like just being there in the stadium and like singing and then being done, like those are the moments that these firsts, and like coming off and hugging all my friends and my mom and them calling me like, what? You know, like those moments are what I'm cherishing. So I feel like what I've learned about my craft is to be present and allow myself to live. And when the work comes, to try and have those moments be reflected in the work and try to seek the roles and opportunities that I feel in alignment with in actual life so that I can be free to express myself. Because what I'm learning about the craft is like, you know, after you're doing but so many things, it becomes really difficult to remember that your job is not the celebrity portion. Your job is like what you do on set every day. Your job is not the performance even. Your job is the studio when you're writing. Staying present enough to know that like, okay, turn off Brett Gray, the big actor personality right now, and what do you feel? What's going on with you? And how do you put that in the work? And how do you live that through the text? So those are the things I've just been thinking about lately.
Yeah. That's I think that's good advice for people to realize too, because it's all about the journey at the end of the day. Like I think that, you know, I think that a lot of times we just feel like we have to be like this, or like it's good to have that it's good to have that mindset, and like you said, to manifest things like that, but like you don't know what steps you're going to have to take in order for that manifestation to be realized.
You have no idea.
You have no idea what's going to happen.
No idea.
Like,
so just release it. Just let the wheel be taken. I was just telling, I don't know if any of you guys are like religious at all, but I was just telling my friend the other day, like, God, you can just take the wheel, because I don't even want to drive. I've gotten very like used to and like appreciative of being driven at this point. So like, you just go ahead and take it.
You're just going to be the passenger. You're just going to be the passenger.
Hey, I'm just going to be the passenger. There's this like illusion that I think we have as all humans in whatever industry we're in of control. And we don't really have actually much control over anything. And so I'm here to just sort of like, I'm here for the ride.
Brett Gray talked to us about his creative journey, everything about On My Block, and things that he hopes to accomplish in his career in the coming years. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Opening Act featuring Brett Gray. Don't forget to leave us a 5-star rating and a review wherever you download your podcasts. Watch this interview in full and catch exclusive content on lunchtable.com. Just create an account and you can see all sorts of Shadow and Act content, such as Reel It Back and Shadow and Act Live. Until next time.